you guys like it or not, the Judgment Day will be a staple, a regular, on Tuesday nights now on NXT. You guys already know my stance on this. I don't really like the main roster bleeding onto WWE's developmental show for obvious reasons. If there's anybody in this community that really stood behind what black and gold meant, it was me. I was here every single week covering NXT, and when Vince McMahon, along with Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis, blew up the brand to create 2.0, my love for the brand, you're never going to get that back. Now, all of a sudden, according to sources in the community, Nick Khan wants to make NXT a viable third brand. But we already had that when Triple H was leading the show. Now you want to go back and do what Triple H was doing, which everybody knew was the right direction, not only for NXT, but for the WWE. So yes, there is some resentment there from me and from a lot of people in the community on Nick Khan's decision to make NXT now a viable third brand. And it's very difficult to look at it and be excited when all I see is desperation coming off of WWE. This is why Judgment Day, this is why Dominic Mysterio won the North American Championship. Judgment Day will be appearing on NXT more regularly for the foreseeable future. Wes Lee had been the North American champion going into Tuesday's episode of NXT before he dropped it to Dominic Mysterio in the main event. The match was awful and was all about getting Judgment Day a title that now Finn Balor is the only member of Judgment Day that does not have an accolade going into SummerSlam. There was outside interference, obviously, from Rhea Ripley as she hit Wes Lee with her Women's Championship, allowing Mysterio to get his first singles title in WWE. Now, the show drew 746,000 live viewers on Tuesday night with a 0.2 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. That was up from 671,000 from a week ago. This was the second highest ratings of the year for WWE and the second highest total viewership since 2021. PW Insider reports that WWE is absolutely thrilled with them appearing on the show. Of course they would be, and credited them for helping raise the ratings. Because Mysterio is the North American champion, expect to see him bring the title belt with him to Monday Night Raw. Mike Johnson says, and I quote, "We are told that currently there are plans in place for at least the next month, possibly longer, for members of Judgment Day to appear regularly on NXT beyond the 2023 Great American Bash pay-per-view, which is a week from this Sunday. Mysterio will make his first title defense against Mustafa Ali at the Great American Bash. What that means for Wes Lee, nobody knows. It was supposed to be Wes Lee versus Ali, and now it's Mysterio versus Ali. Maybe he gets thrown in there on Tuesday and we get a triple threat match because he was robbed on Tuesday night out of that North American Championship." There's a follow-up report, which basically, you know, it's coming from Meltzer. I'll say that much. It's coming from Meltzer. But Meltzer is not far off at all in his reporting here as to why WWE has main roster talent regularly featured on NXT. Nick Khan, like I said, has been credited with the strategy currently in place for NXT to become a viable third brand. Main roster stars on the brand, boost ratings. People are going to look at it a little differently. And obviously, in the midst of TV rights negotiations, they want a sweet package that includes NXT on NBCU. Now, Meltzer reports this, and I quote, "There are some people in WWE, apparently, that want to push NXT to do better ratings than Dynamite on a weekly basis." Here we go. What did I tell you, man? Desperation reeks in WWE, and they don't even try to hide it. Meltzer says, and I quote, "The 2 points most talked about by different people were that this is a contract year, so these gains are coming at a great time for the renewal price." We all knew that. "And those in NXT are definitely pushing for the idea of numbers that are going to beat Dynamite. That is on their mind," says Dave Meltzer. I mean, clearly you guys know what happened during the Wednesday Night Wars. It wasn't really much of a war, but Dynamite beat NXT nearly every single week in the ratings until WWE then retreated to Tuesday nights, even though WWE had Wednesday nights all to themselves, and I loved NXT Black and Gold at 1 hour on Wednesday nights. I enjoyed Black and Gold for what it was in the first couple of weeks, going head-to-head with Dynamite. They were banger shows. But WWE right now, they are looking at a situation where they want to stick it to AEW. And they're going to do that with NXT because clearly Raw is going to beat Dynamite. And Friday Night SmackDown is going to beat Dynamite. And NXT right now, they're probably laughing up a fucking storm beating Dynamite on, I don't know if it's going to be an every week thing, but you'll get NXT close to Dynamite ratings. They're beating Collision ratings, being that Collision is at a shit time slot on Saturday night, prime time, when everything else is going on, especially in the summertime when people aren't home and they're not having a life. But you get the gist of where I've been going with this and where Meltzer now is reporting this. Is it that difficult to believe? Judgment Day doesn't make any sense on Tuesday nights. They don't. Whether you like them or not, their inclusion on the show doesn't make any sense. They did have something going on there because Rollins was feuding with Balor, and then Carmelo Hayes was down there, and they had this little thing going on with Carmelo Hayes, and then Carmelo Hayes threw his nose into Judgment Day business, and they were down there for that. But now you start to see shit kind of unravel. Carmelo Hayes lost to Finn Balor clean. This is now twice in a row he lost to the Judgment Day as NXT champion. Wesley, who was one of the most dominant champions on the brand, lost to a main roster guy. Seth Rollins beats Braun. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing here? If you have a problem with this, it's warranted. If you enjoy this, fine. But if you have a problem with this, it's warranted. And the way that I look at it is, if NXT is still a developmental brand, why are you bringing main roster talent down to beat developmental brand or developmental wrestlers when this is their home and you should be building them up in a certain way? I don't really get it. Dominic Mysterio as the North American champion reeks of a ratings ploy, reeks of wanting ratings, and now you know why. Judgment Day on NXT reeks of WWE wanting to beat Dynamite on Wednesday night. Now you know why they're there. Contract negotiations, which, NXT has been fucking floundering for months on NBCU, on USA Network. Now, all of a sudden, they think with a couple of upticks in the rating and some main roster stars on Tuesday night that it's going to offset something different in the way NBC Universal looks at NXT. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. You're killing the concept of the brand. And people don't realize that because they live week to week. Most of you geeks live week to week, and you don't really give a shit if it makes sense or not. You're just there for the week, and then you'll go do something else, and then you'll tune in like a fucking zombie, like a sheep, and watch it on Tuesday night with no fucking care if the week-to-week television makes any sense or if anything's logical. Sucks, huh? This is why I complain about the shit that I complain about, man. NXT, you went back on killing something that was perfect to give us something that was dog shit. Now you're going to go back and try and do what Triple H did all over again, and you're not doing it the way that he did. You're doing it in the wrong way even now. He never used main roster stars. Now you're using main roster stars to go out there and make the brand into something that clearly it should not be anymore. If you want to go back and do what Triple H did, why don't you go out there and hire independent talent if you want something to give NXT a little bit of a different feel? There are independent talents out there that would fit perfectly in WWE. Why don't you go and do that? Dragon Lee was one of them that they brought into the company. Now they're just using main roster stars as a way of a desperate attempt to generate interest. And now clearly you see they have beating AEW Dynamite on the mind. It's disgusting, man. I don't really agree with it, but let me know what you guys think about NXT and their new vision moving forward. AEW, speaking of AEW, they've done big business with Adam Cole and MJF's friendship storyline, which I think is the best thing on AEW television. MJF started a storyline with Adam Cole last month, leading to the AEW World Heavyweight Champion going to a 30-minute time limit draw with him on the June 14th episode of Dynamite, one of the best matches of the entire year, especially for Dynamite. MJF defended his title against Hiroshi Tanahashi at Forbidden Door, was successful there, and then he got into a little thing here with Adam Cole, which is basically a take on the Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho Festival of Friendship. MJF and Adam Cole were forced to team together in the July 5th episode of Dynamite, where they were paired in a blind tag team eliminator tournament. And the winner of this tournament would receive an opportunity at the tag team championships at FTR. And Adam Cole and MJF did end up winning the tournament by beating Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara, which happened on this past Wednesday's Dynamite. AEW's been doing vignettes of them bonding together. And in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that the storyline has led to big merchandise sales for AEW. Meltzer wrote, "The MJF and Adam Cole t-shirt, Better Than You, Baby, in the last few weeks since the release has sold more numbers of shirts than any AEW shirt for all of 2023. It's also the shirt that has been pushed harder than any other shirt on Dynamite, particularly by MJF last week. The shirt is also the second highest grossing shirt of the year, just behind an MJF button-down shirt that was at a higher price point. I think they were selling that shirt for $75, if I'm not mistaken, the MJF button-down. AEW is running into a situation right now, and I don't really see them doing this because you could see where it's kind of leading to, going into All Out and All In and then Grand Slam. AEW is running into a situation right now where this is definitely giving off vibes that it could go way longer. And obviously the numbers are showing that. People are tuning in to Dynamite to watch MJF and Adam Cole. People are buying their merch. People are enjoying it. They are a fucking sensation. They said on Dynamite, they caught lightning in a bottle. Nobody knew it was going to be this good. Everybody knew these guys were talented enough individually, but paired together, their personalities have been an absolute breath of fresh air for AEW Dynamite and gives AEW its first piece of long-term booking in a very, very, very long time that has people's interests. Now, could it go longer? Sure. Would it be in AEW's best interest to keep it going longer? Sure. But sometimes things like this have a very short shelf life. And with what we saw on Dynamite, Adam Cole already glared at the AEW World Championship, and he's already making an eye at that title, which pissed off MJF. Now, we have the match on Saturday night in 2 weeks at Collision on July 29th, and that title match with FTR is going to be taking place. MJF and Adam Cole could realistically have this all end there, and something could happen in that match that breaks up the team, and then we get a feud building between MJF and Adam Cole going into All In, which I do presume is going to be the title match for All In at Wembley. So AEW has some really, really hard thinking the next couple weeks. Do they prolong this? And do they abandon what the plans are currently right now, potentially? Or do they continue this and lead this on in for the rest of the summer going into the early fall and then bypass All In, All Out, and Grand Slam? I don't know. It's a very tough situation. So we will see what happens with that. But I would presume, and here's a little wrench in the gears. MJF and Adam Cole get that match at Collision with FTR on July 29th. Who's to say we don't start an MJF CM Punk thing, being that MJF's going to be on CM Punk's show? And we all know CM Punk held up what was in the red bag. He held up the red sack. We all know what's in the red bag. But who's to say CM Punk doesn't get involved, being that MJF is on his show and he's in a match with his boys in FTR? That's also another thing to keep an eye out for. So we will see what's going on there. But AEW has a very good thing right now. It's a good problem to have, but a tough one to really execute. Do you end it or do you prolong it? We'll see what Tony Khan decides to do. But right now, it is the best thing on AEW Dynamite, bar none. Top free agent, interested in both AEW and WWE, Nick Aldis. His name has been going around in the community right now as a potential land for WWE and also AEW. It was previously reported that there is high interest in Aldis from WWE now that he's free and clear from Impact, and he is slated potentially, if he does come to WWE, to be brought in as a producer for a trial period early next month. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that Aldis is back in talks with WWE, but he's also interested in going to AEW as well. Meltzer wrote, Aldis has no deal in place and is said to be interested in both WWE and AEW. It was added that Aldis is a free agent right now and has agreed to work here through this week, end quote. If he's interested in AEW, clearly he still wants to be a professional wrestler. I think that's going to be the one tell sign about where Nick Aldis ends up. WWE wants to give him a producer role, and a producer role only. I never heard a report yet about Nick Aldis making him an in-ring performer. And if you really want to sit down on this story and dive deep into it, which company would be the best landing spot for Nick Aldis? He's 36 years old. He's in absolute incredible shape. He is old school. He's a world champion. He built like a world champion. He's got a great fucking promo. He's one of the best storytellers in all of pro wrestling right now with what he does in that ring. What do you realistically think WWE would do with Nick Aldis? I mean, they don't really have much to do with him on Monday. They don't have much to do with him on Friday. Where would he fit? He never gave any sign that he wants to hang it up and retire to become a fucking producer to help the younger talent. He's 36 years old. He's younger than all of the top stars in WWE. He's younger than Cody. He's younger than Priest. He's younger than LA Knight. He's younger than AJ Styles, Bobby Lashley, Edge. I mean, you want to bring him in at 36 years old at top physical condition, and you want to make him a producer? And then you got geeks online saying, well, what if he wants to be a producer? No, he doesn't want to be a producer. Otherwise, he wouldn't be interested in AEW and landing with Tony Khan. If he wants to be a producer and a producer only, he'll take this WWE deal. But the fact that he's interested in AEW as well means that he still wants to compete in the middle of that ring. It's a slap in his face. But that's what WWE thinks of guys like Nick Aldis. Ridiculous. He would be perfect for AEW and perfect to land on Saturday Night Collision. And I mean fucking perfect for Saturday nights. We'll see what happens there, but he's going to land somewhere, and hopefully he makes the right decision. Speaking of landing, I don't know why WWE hasn't landed LA Knight in a top spot yet. WWE is still waiting to start LA Knight's new push, but we'd have new updates on when this could be. Tonight on SmackDown, LA Knight will go against Sheamus, Cameron Grimes, and Rey Mysterio for a fatal four-way. This is round 2 of the United States Championship Invitational. Winner will face Santos Escobar on the July 28th edition of SmackDown to see who wrestles Austin Theory for the United States title. Insider account Boozer, BWE, Better Wrestling Experience, has broken WWE stories in the past and has been spot on. And he reports that LA Knight's new push will be starting after the August 5th SummerSlam PLE. Now, I don't know what the fuck that means. That doesn't really give me hope about who wins the Fatal 4-Way tonight. Does that mean that LA Knight starts his push after SummerSlam and that won't include the United States Championship? Do we get somebody else in that match with Austin Theory at SummerSlam, or maybe on that go-home show before SummerSlam, being that we're already looking at a loaded SummerSlam card? We don't even know if the United States title is going to be on that Detroit show. But that is a very cryptic tweet. LA Knight's new push will be starting after the August 5th SummerSlam PLE. I will say this. LA Knight wins tonight. He beats Santos Escobar. He goes on to win the United States title. That's when his push starts as the United States champion. If WWE fucks this up tonight, there will be a lot of people complaining about the movement in WWE, asking what the fuck is going on. Seriously. They could have slaughtered him in at SummerSlam against Logan Paul. They didn't want to do that. They went with Ricochet. Now he's got a United States Championship opportunity, and you're not going to give him that? Crazy. It's absolutely crazy. We'll see what happens, man. We'll take it till SmackDown tonight. If he doesn't win, we'll take it there and see where we go with the United States title going into SummerSlam. But I think we're all on the same page. LA Knight winning the Fatal 4-Way tonight and then beating Santos Escobar would be the best thing for WWE right now, as Austin Theory has floundered with that United States Championship. And I do think LA Knight winning that United States title will be a great starting point to elevate his star greater in WWE. And finally, guys, WWE is still waiting on a proper diagnosis for Bayley's injury. If you guys remember this past weekend in Maryland in a Fatal 4-Way match with Charlotte, Asuka, and Bianca Belair, Bayley had an injury scare. It happened when she fell running towards Asuka, and Bayley dropped to the mat, and then the referee threw up the X sign, which is never a good thing. The match was cut short, and Bayley was taken out of the match. While doing a Q&A on PW Insider, Mike Johnson noted that WWE is waiting for medical tests before deciding on a course of action regarding the injury. Says, and I quote, I was told that they were waiting to get some medical tests back so they could properly diagnose and decide on a course of action. I would hope the fact that she walked out of the arena on her own that night, even limping, is a good sign for Bayley, end quote. Hopefully that is the case, because she just started a storyline with Shotzi, where Shotzi shaved her head, and we're going to finish that up with those two ladies, and we'll see what happens there. But it would be terrible for Bayley to be out. I'm sure that Bayley is going to be factored into plans, whether that's a damage control split, Io winning the championship potentially at SummerSlam by cashing in that briefcase, the thing with Shotzi. There's a lot going on with Bayley right now. There's a couple of different avenues that WWE could go with Bayley. They'll have to reroute themselves with Bayley being out for an extended period of time. And I hope it's not the knee and the injury that she just came back from, that she went through rehabilitation for when she got injured during the pandemic era of WWE, inside the Performance Center, mind you. Hopefully it's not that same knee. Otherwise, that's definitely not a good sign for Bayley. So hopefully it is a good sign that she was limping. She got out of the arena on her own, and it's nothing more than a minor injury that's going to keep her on the shelf for a few weeks. So we'll see what happens there. As long as it's not 6 to 9 months, I think we'll all be good with Bayley. So we'll keep an eye on her and when she returns to WWE television. Guys, that's all I got today. If you enjoyed today's video, please make sure you hit that thumbs up. Please hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications, and make sure you guys go check out all the other videos on the channel. There is plenty of it for you guys to get caught up on. Hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 1,000 likes today on Off the Script. And I'll see you live tonight from the Beer Garden, as always, for Friday Night SmackDown live after the show goes off the air. Enjoy your Fridays, guys, and I'll see you right back here for SmackDown Live with the post show on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.